There are things in the kingdom that cannot be accessed by talent, by intellect, or by charisma. They can only be accessed by clearance. And not just any clearance, kingdom clearance. It is the kind of access that only those who have been tested by the fire, approved by the Spirit, and sealed by divine trust can carry. You see, there are realms in heaven where angels stand guard, where even prophets tremble to enter. There are places in the spiritual hierarchy where permission isn't granted just because you pray long hours. It is granted because you were chosen to handle weight most people would collapse under. Chosen one. This message is for you. Because what is happening in your life right now is not confusion. It is confirmation. You have been wondering why you have been isolated, why certain doors closed even when you were faithful, why you had to watch others rise while you were hidden. It is because heaven was verifying you for clearance. See, before God allows someone to handle certain secrets, certain assignments, or certain anointings, they go through background checks of the soul. Every wound, every temptation, every delay, He was checking your loyalty, your purity, and your motive. You don't just walk into a kingdom assignment, you qualify for it. And if you are hearing this message, something deep in your spirit already knows you didn't survive everything you faced just to live an ordinary life. You survived because heaven has approved you for divine access. And now God is about to release you into the level where almost no one qualifies to go. Chosen one. This is why people have misunderstood you, because you don't carry a common clearance. You carry classified favor. When people look at you, they only see your outer story. They don't see the spiritual background, the countless hours of silence, the nights when you cried out. But no one heard, the moments when you almost gave up. But heaven recorded your endurance. People think clearance is about privilege, but in the kingdom, clearance is about trustworthiness. You went through things that destroyed others, not because you were weak, but because God was seeing what you do when no one was watching. And that is why your path couldn't look like anyone else's. God couldn't afford to make you comfortable too early. He had to make you reliable before He made you visible. You probably noticed this. You have always had a spiritual radar. You walk into rooms and feel what others cannot sense. You pick up burdens that don't belong to you. You discern when something is wrong in the atmosphere, even when no one has spoken a word. That is part of your clearance level. Heaven gave you spiritual access into the unseen because you can be trusted not to misuse it. You have been allowed to feel what others ignore, so you could protect what others cannot even perceive. You might have thought, why cannot I just be normal? Because you were never meant to be. Normal doesn't carry authority. Normal doesn't guard gates. Normal doesn't walk with classified angels. Chosen one, the misunderstanding was your preparation. Every time someone doubted your calling, God was writing your qualification letter in heaven. Every rejection was heaven's way of saying, you don't belong to that level anymore. You have outgrown what used to define you. You are walking with kingdom clearance now, and that is why the old version of your life no longer fits. There are very few people on this earth who heaven can trust with high-level access. Not because God doesn't love everyone equally, but because not everyone is willing to be purified enough to carry it. Spiritual clearance isn't about status. It is about trust. It is not given to the loudest voices or the most visible believers. It is given to those who have been proven in silence. And once you begin to walk in it, your entire life becomes evidence of divine verification. Let's go deeper. These are the unmistakable signs that you carry a kingdom clearance level, one that almost no one qualifies for. Heaven doesn't hand out access before investigation. Before God releases someone into higher assignments, He inspects their motives. He looks into the hidden corners of your heart, not to condemn you, but to confirm you, chosen one. That is why you have walked through tests that made no sense. You were faithful to people who betrayed you. You gave to those who drained you. You kept quiet when you could have exposed the truth. That wasn't weakness, it was verification. God was running background checks on your integrity, restraint, and loyalty. When heaven needs someone to carry kingdom intelligence, words, visions, and spiritual instructions, He looks for those who don't need attention to obey. If you have ever wondered why your obedience was tested in secret, it is because you were being cleared for higher access. There are moments when you suddenly feel something shift in the atmosphere. You sense a heaviness in a room before anyone speaks. You discern a lie before it is said out loud. You wake up knowing something is about to happen, and later it does. That is not coincidence. That is clearance-level sensitivity. Heaven doesn't waste spiritual intelligence on the undisciplined. When you feel these things, it means God trusts your discernment. You are allowed to sense because you have proven you will not gossip with what you discern. You will pray instead of panic, intercede instead of interfere. This is why your emotions feel different lately. You don't just feel for yourself, you carry the temperature of heaven. You sense when something's off because you are one of God's spiritual sensors in this world. That is clearance. You will suddenly know things you never studied. A scripture will light up and it will explain something happening in your life right now. You will look at a person and immediately perceive their pain. You will walk into a situation and just know what to say or not to say. That is divine intelligence flowing through your spiritual access. It is not magic, it is not guessing. It is the whisper of heaven saying you are cleared to know this. And here is what is wild. God will sometimes reveal things to you that others cannot handle yet. You will see their potential before they do. You will sense the coming danger before it arrives. You will feel the spiritual blueprint of something long before it manifests in the natural. That is because you are not operating on public information. You are working with classified downloads. When God increases your clearance, He decreases your circle. You will notice it. Sudden disconnections, quiet separations, friendships that simply stop flowing. It is not that people became evil, it is that their access expired. You cannot carry high clearance and casual connections at the same time. Some people were wonderful for your previous level, but their vibration is too low for your next one. You might love them dearly, but heaven had to limit their access to you for your safety, because people talk, and when you carry spiritual intelligence, the wrong ear can become the enemy's doorway. That is why God removed you from certain groups, certain gossip circles, even certain ministries. It wasn't judgment, it was containment. He couldn't afford a data leak from someone with kingdom clearance. Your isolation wasn't punishment, it was encryption. When you carry clearance, you cannot get away with what others get away with. A small lie will trouble you for days. A careless word will sting your spirit. You will feel conviction where others feel nothing. That is because heaven's monitoring system is active in your spirit. Every decision, every thought, every motive is scanned under divine light, not to make you paranoid, but to keep your access secure. When others say, "It is not that deep," you will hear the Spirit whisper, "It is that deep for you." Because the higher your clearance, the smaller your margin for compromise. God isn't controlling you. He is protecting you from demotion. You have been trusted with too much to live loosely. One of the greatest proofs of clearance is rejection from people you admired. They didn't understand you because they weren't cleared to. They felt discomfort around your spirit because you exposed something they haven't dealt with. They backed away, not realizing heaven used their distance to deepen your discernment. Rejection recalibrated your radar. It made you depend on God for validation instead of man's approval. It taught you to operate quietly, to move by spirit, not by sight. When you finally realized their misunderstanding was divine shielding, that is when your access upgraded. Clearance doesn't make you popular, it makes you preserved. Ever notice how the attacks on you don't make sense? You get targeted out of nowhere. People accuse you of things you didn't do. You experience sudden exhaustion, confusion, or spiritual heaviness without logical reason. That is because your spiritual clearance level threatens unseen systems. You are not fighting random demons. You are confronting darkness that fears your influence. You have been granted clearance to operate in spiritual zones that most believers never touch. And the enemy knows that if you fully step into it, his operations in that region will be dismantled. So the warfare isn't a sign of failure. It is a signal of your classification. You are a high-value target in the spirit realm because you carry heaven's confidential access codes. But take comfort. He that authorized you also protects you. Your clearance comes with coverage. You are guarded by a level of angelic security that matches your assignment. This might be the most subtle sign of all. When God trusts you with prophetic or spiritual insight, you don't rush to share it anymore. You have learned that not everything you receive is meant to be spoken. Some things are meant to be stewarded in prayer. You used to talk too soon, post too early, or warn people who weren't ready to hear, and God corrected you. Not because you were wrong, but because you were immature with information. Now you have learned discretion. You hold revelations in your heart until the Holy Spirit gives release. That is maturity, that is clearance behavior. You don't need to announce what heaven reveals, you simply act accordingly. This is how generals operate. They carry knowledge that could change nations, but never lose control of their tongue. If you have developed this restraint, it is a sure sign your clearance is active. You walk differently. You think before you speak. You sense that what you carry isn't small, it is holy. There is a weight to your presence even when you are silent. People may not understand why they respect you, but something in them knows your spirit carries authority. That is divine gravity. You have been anointed with a presence that speaks without words. When you enter a space, heaven registers your arrival. And when you pray, things shift faster because you have been cleared for command access. More than anything else, clearance is proven in obedience, not loud obedience, instant obedience. When God says move, you move. When He says wait, you wait. You no longer wrestle with instructions because you have learned delayed obedience is disobedience. If you have reached this point, congratulations. You have entered the level where heaven doesn't need to keep explaining itself to you. You have graduated from needing understanding to simply trusting the commander. That is when you know your clearance is real. When you obey even when it hurts. When you carry out divine instructions with precision, not emotion. When your heart is surrendered enough to say, "Yes, Lord," before He even finishes the sentence. Chosen one, these signs are not coincidences, they are confirmations. You have been groomed, filtered, refined, and cleared. You carry a kingdom clearance level that was earned through endurance, humility, and purity. So when people ask why you remember this truth, it is not favoritism, it is fitness. You were built for this. You were verified in private, so God could use you in power. The clearance you carry isn't paper, It is presence. It is the mark of one heaven trusts when very few ever qualify. Clearance doesn't come overnight. It is not given by human hands. It is conferred by divine testing. There was a time when you prayed for promotion, and instead everything fell apart. You asked for clarity, and God went silent. You sought open doors, and He let them slam in your face. But here is the truth. He wasn't rejecting you. He was refining you. He took you through spiritual boot camp. You were trained through heartbreak, betrayal, and loneliness. You were forced to let go of people you loved, to walk away from comfort, to rebuild from nothing. And through it all, something in you refused to die. You learned how to hear His voice when no one else was around. You learned obedience when it cost you everything. You learned patience when time made no sense. That is the clearance process. It breaks your dependency on man and rebuilds your loyalty to God alone. Because when He gives you access to sacred things, people's destinies, prophetic insights, divine assignments, you cannot afford to leak information to your emotions. There is a phrase in heaven that few understand. Clearance comes through crucifixion. It means the death of self-ambition. It means surrendering the need to be seen. It means being okay with divine delay because you trust divine wisdom. When you finally stop begging God for open doors and start thanking Him for closed ones, that is when you graduate. Because the closed door was never rejection. It was classified redirection, chosen one. Everything you lost was part of your training. The people who left, the dreams that fell apart, the seasons that made no sense. They were God's security checks. He was verifying if your heart could stay pure while being processed. And because you didn't give up, you passed the test. Now, you are entering a new phase. You are not just a believer, you are an operator in the kingdom. Heaven will start to move through you with precision. When God gives someone kingdom clearance, He trusts them to intercede in real time. You will find yourself waking up at odd hours to pray for someone specific. You might not even know their situation, but heaven knows you are on duty. You are a spiritual responder dispatched to intercept spiritual threats before they touch earth. Government is wherever you go, your home, workplace, or community. You will feel led to shift the atmosphere. You will speak peace where there is chaos. You will bring order where there is confusion. You are heaven's law enforcement on earth. Carry prophetic downloads, visions, insights, dreams. They will become sharper because you have proven trustworthy. Heaven will entrust you with intelligence that others cannot interpret. And your role is not to boast, but to build. You will help others align with divine timing, become a gatekeeper. God will place you near spiritual gates, nations, families, ministries, or systems, and your discernment will guard them. You will know when something dark tries to infiltrate. Your spirit will sound the alarm before the threat becomes visible. You are the first line of defense and spiritual warfare. Release kingdom protocol. You will not just walk in anointing, you will walk in order. People around you will sense your authority without you saying a word. It is not pride, it is presence. The spirit within you carries rank, and when you speak, things align. That is what clearance does. It establishes divine order wherever you stand. Heaven uses you as a silent commander. You don't need a crowd. You don't need validation. You operate with quiet authority because you know your orders come directly from the throne. Chosen one. Hear this clearly. You carry a kingdom clearance level that almost no one qualifies for. That is why your warfare was heavy. It was proportionate to your access. That is why you have been through long waiting seasons. Heaven was verifying your trust record. That is why you have always felt like you were walking under unseen eyes, because you are. But now the tests are shifting into trust. The hidden seasons are turning into holy assignments. The one who once begged for purpose is now authorized for power. Heaven knows your name. You are listed among those who carry clearance to operate in higher dimensions of influence and revelation. You are permitted to move with divine authority that others only read about. And even though people will not always understand you, heaven recognizes your rank. You have been cleared to enter rooms that carry kingdom strategy. You have been cleared to speak words that shape atmospheres. You have been cleared to touch lives that will never be the same after encountering your presence. So don't shrink anymore. Don't apologize for your discernment. Don't water down your wisdom. You are not just gifted, you are cleared. And when God gives clearance, no man, no devil, and no opposition can revoke it. You have passed the unseen tests. You have endured the hidden trials, and now you stand as heaven's approved vessel, marked, authorized, and trusted. Walk boldly, chosen one, because the level you have entered is sacred, sealed, and stamped by the King himself. You carry a kingdom clearance level, and heaven is ready to release your next assignment.